Good morning, class. Today we are going to study the state of the education union and what leaders are to do to deal with the challenges we are facing today. Let's face it, we all hate No Child Left Behind. I know, you know, there's a lot of flawed law in there. I've been living under this system in Texas for 15 years. We're the father of No Child Left Behind. We don't like it either. We hate it. But because we were the early adapters, we didn't have a choice. We were just required to adapt. We've learned a few lessons along the way, and I'm here to pass some of that wisdom on to you. In times of crisis, business leaders, education leaders, anyone who would presume to be a leader must have three critical elements. First, they must ruthlessly assess their reality. Second, they must develop a powerful vision. And third, they must develop 2 or 3 key strategies. Let's ruthlessly assess the reality. Some of you may still be under the notion, the hope, the dream, the fantasy that No Child Left Behind is going to go away. It's not. What was the last law that was ever repealed that had major impact? Prohibition. Folks, Congress does not repeal laws. So whatever happens in elections or anything like that, it is going to have no impact upon whether that law exists. Now, granted, the law is flawed. It will morph. It will become different things. And the problem with the law is it's like a curve, a grading curve, and the curve is set too high. Not enough people are passing. That's a bad thing, and it needs to be corrected. But we're never going to return to the good old days of the Eisenhower administration when we all sat in neat little rows and the teacher stood at the chalkboard and dished out a couple of facts, and then we had a test. And if we didn't pass the test, the teacher said, well, I tried. I was there. I fogged up a mirror. I explained it. Little Johnny didn't get it because little Johnny doesn't have a common courtesy to speak English and have 2 parents to go home and help him with his homework. We're never going back there. And yet, there are many people in our communities, I know, I have these same people in mind, who say, well, education ain't what it used to be when I was in school. And I look at him and say, well, yes. Thank heavens with you as Exhibit A. That form of education was only about 2 levels of Bloom's taxonomy, memorization and regurgitate knowledge. Today, we are expected to produce students who can pass all tests at all levels, and the tests are testing all the way down to level 6. Which is understand it and reframe it into your own point of reference. So what does that mean for our industry? It means that the vision of education has changed from teachers teaching to learning. Now, what No Child Left Behind does is it keeps score. See, we don't have any problem with the basic core belief of No Child Left Behind. I mean, how many of you would say, heck yeah, I want to leave my kids behind. I'm proud of it. Boy, howdy, we're offering a product. They don't get it. Get them out of there. No. Deep in our heart, we're educators. We want all the kids to pass. We just don't want the law telling us we have to do it and then punishing us when we don't. But the fact of the matter is that's the landscape we live in now. Because, see, back in the old days, when education was good, we didn't have to compare our kids to anybody else. If we lived out on the prairie or in the desert or whatever, our little kids didn't get compared to everybody's little kids. But what's changed is our students and their performance, and therefore the quality of the teaching that they're receiving, is being measured against students not only in the far corners of your state, but also with the kids in New York, and the kids in Florida, and the kids in California, and the kids in Texas, and the kids in China, and the kids in India. And the kids in China and the kids in India are taking the jobs that your kids are preparing for. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us as leaders to ruthlessly assess our reality, accept what it is, and develop a powerful vision for response. I submit to you that we are no longer in the business of teaching. We are in the business of learning. Now, what does that mean to you as an education leader? What must you do in response to these totally different businesses? A whole lot of the media dialogue is predicated upon the notion that teachers are purposely not teaching well enough because, I don't know, they're lazy, they're sitting in the lounge eating donuts. If they just had an extra $500 a year, they'd turn it on. There's all kinds of solutions for why teachers are not teaching better. But what you and I both know deep in our heart of hearts is your teachers are teaching the best they know how. So if you're going to move from a old-fashioned teaching environment to a learning business, you must improve the quality of their teaching to see the results in the test scores. What we're going to talk about today is how you do that. And here is the answer. Your greatest resource are your very own teachers. You must allow your teachers to teach each other how to teach. Teaching is a skill. Yes, you need to know your math. Yes, you need to know your reading. But you must be working on the skill of teaching. And the best way for that to happen is for teachers to collaborate together. And I'm not talking about a staff meeting once a month or a in-service day during February or maybe right after they come back from winter break. No, I'm talking about teachers collaborating every single day. The answer to how you are going to transform your district is teachers teaching teachers how to teach every day. Now, some of you are looking at me and you're going, that woman is nuts. There is no way I've got time for my teachers to teach with each other, sit and chat and drink coffee every day. No. What we're going to talk about is what would it take for your teachers to talk with each other about the skill of teaching every day? Well, for starters, having been a school board member of a school district for 3 terms and 9 years, I happen to know because we lived through it. It means you have got to, at a minimum, rethink your entire staffing requirements. And in order to do that, you've got to have more money. So that means you've got to rethink your budget. And in order to do that, you've got to rethink your staff development policies and products and tools, because if you're going to give them all this really expensive time, they got to be using it purposefully. They can't be sitting around doing their laundry list and answering email. So you've got to rethink your entire staff development process. If you're going to do that, then that means in order to give them time, you're going to have to rethink your master schedule. And in order to do that, you are going to have to re-engineer your entire system. Folks, industries all the time get thrown these kinds of challenges. We are not unique. Look at what's happening with Blockbuster and Netflix. The only difference between us and Blockbuster is we're going to be in business tomorrow because we're funded with tax dollars. Blockbuster has to live on revenue from people who still want to go to a store to rent a movie. Blockbuster is going to be out of business, most probably, within 3 years, if that long, because they're going to be put there by Netflix and TiVo. We aren't going to get put out of business, but we are going to be hounded to death by stakeholders, media, government, business, communities, parents who see their children, your students, being compared to children in China and in India and all over the world and saying, my kids aren't getting a good enough product. I challenge you to go back home and reinvent your district. Because if you just come and sit at this conference and don't do anything with any of the information, then you are just like teachers that you send off to the latest learning class and they go away and they spend your money and then they come back and nothing changes in the classroom. And you think, well, we wasted tax dollars on that one. Miss Smith sure still is just like she was before. Nothing's changed. Please, please go back to your district. Become an inspirational, visionary leader. Reinvent your system. Get your teachers talking amongst themselves. Be worthy of the tax dollars that have been spent on this training for you. And I can guarantee that if you do this, your students will become a learning community. Thank you.